Hey guys, Jack here from On Wrist. When you guys think about wristwatches, the first brand that might come into your head is Rolex, and that's for good reason. They have so many classic designs such as the Rolex Datejust, Daytona, and Submariner, but today I want to talk about something I never knew about before, a Rolex model that I recently found while just doing some research for some other videos, and it's the Rolex Texan. So in this video I'm going to break down what it is and the history behind it. So let's get right into it. So let's talk about the basics of the Rolex Texan. So the Rolex Texan was designed by Rolex, of course, and Gerald Genta in 1969 and was manufactured from 1970 to 1972. This was Rolex's initial answer to the quartz crisis. Now for those unfamiliar, the quartz crisis was a time in watchmaking when in 1969 Seiko came out with the first quartz watch. Now quartz watches are battery operated and battery powered, and are actually cheaper to manufacture and more accurate than most mechanical watches. This, back in 1969, put the whole Swiss watch world on notice and made so every major Swiss manufacturer wanted to come up with their own answer. Now for Rolex, it was the Rolex Texan. They obviously brought in Gerald Genta, as I mentioned earlier, and for those unfamiliar, that is someone who actually designed the Universal Jeanette Pole Rotor and some even more famous watches such as the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak and the Patek Philippe Nautilus, some watches that are pretty much the hottest on the market right now and go upwards of $100,000. Now many of you actually might be thinking, doesn't Rolex already have a quartz watch? And that's actually true. It is the Rolex Oyster Quartz, which is essentially a Datejust but in quartz. And it actually has a lot of the same design cues as this particular Rolex, as it has the integrated bracelet, which is something that is synonymous with some of Gerald Genta's work, like I mentioned from the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak and the Patek Philippe Nautilus. Now this particular quartz Rolex Texan actually had a tuning fork technology, which is sort of an earlier iteration of the quartz movement. It actually glides rather than ticks, and that's interesting because most people, when they imagine a quartz watch, see it actually ticking, and in this case it actually doesn't. So it does glide, and if you see some footage of it, which is pretty rare, you can actually see it does that. Now there are only about 1,000 pieces total, and they're actually marked on the case back which number in production they were. Some people say they saw some numbers a little higher than 1,000, which is definitely possible, but most people agree that there's only about 1,000 in existence with potentially a little bit more. And it's really interesting because they only made this in white gold and yellow gold. It actually kind of looks like a Rolex President from afar, and when I first saw pictures of it, I thought it was just a weird Rolex President, but obviously as you look at it a little bit more closely, you realize this is nothing like it. Obviously this still has a lot of the traditional Rolex design cues as well, such as the Cyclops and date, but again, it is sort of its own unique thing, which I find to be really interesting. Now when you check on sites like Chrono24, you actually can see this watch spans anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000, which at first seems a little crazy, but when you think about it, many Rolex watches that are a little hot right now, such as the Rolex Daytona and President, go anywhere from that same range of $15,000 to $25,000 and a little bit more. So it isn't too ridiculous to see a watch in that price range, especially for something that is such, that has such history to it and is extremely rare and designed by Gerald Genta. Many Audemars Piguet Royal Oaks and Patek Philippe Nautilus go for around that same price range, and in most cases actually go for more than that. So spending $15,000 to $25,000 on this watch actually is, I hate to say it, but kind of reasonable. It certainly is going to be the most unique watch most people have ever seen, or at least for those who actually know what they're talking about. Now, I just wanted to make this video because I was actually reading some articles and doing some research for other videos, and I came across this watch, and I was completely in shock that this was a real watch. I didn't know that Rolex had a different quartz watch, and I didn't know Gerald Genta ever made a watch for them also. And so, as someone who watches a lot of YouTube, at least a lot of watch YouTube, and reads a lot of articles, I was actually pretty dumbfounded that this was even a real thing. So I just wanted to make this video to put it out there because I thought it was something that was just extremely unique and something that should be shared more often. That's obviously not the greatest overview of the watch. I don't have it with me, and nor do I ever think I will. But I just wanted to make this little overview about it because I thought it was extremely interesting. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and also subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. I also ask you to check out my Instagram @JackOnWrist for photos of all my watches. And yeah, that's it for this video, and please subscribe for more content. Thank you.